What am I gonna do about this hair? I feel like I need a haircut, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know, what should I do? Should I keep growing it out? Just give it a different shape? Should I cut it again? Like, just, I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. It's making me crazy. Hi guys, thanks for stopping by again. If this is your first time here, welcome. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell icon so that you can keep hanging out with us every time we upload a new video. Obviously. As you probably guessed from the video title, thumbnail, or whatever search terms you use to land here, today we're going to be talking about the Sephora Make No Mistake Foundation Stick. If you're a fan of foundation sticks, then you're probably really excited that there's another one on the market and that it's at a decent price. So you're probably wondering whether or not it's worth your time, money, and effort. Well, you're in luck, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. And just for that, you should be giving this video a thumbs up. So sit back and get cozy, because we're getting started. Here we go. As usual, I'm going to start things off by telling you the basics about the product. The Sephora Make No Mistake Foundation and Concealer Stick is meant to be a soft, matte foundation with medium to full buildable coverage. It's also supposed to be good for all skin types. According to Sephora, this can be used as both a foundation and a concealer, which isn't all that revolutionary considering that you can do that with pretty much any foundation that has buildable coverage. But they're touting it as a feature, so I'm mentioning it here even though it's really not that special. It's supposed to have a creamy formula that won't settle into fine lines or wrinkles. And like all foundation sticks, it's meant to be good for on the go because no broken foundation bottles. And you're able to swipe it on, blend, and go because, well, that's how they're meant to be used. You swipe, blend, go. The foundation is available in 16 shades, which isn't the best shade range, but if you happen to find one in that shade range that matches you, then I guess it's good for you. And the best thing about it is that it retails for $20, which is pretty amazing considering that the least expensive, higher end foundation, the ABH Foundation Stick, retails for $25. And for those $20 that you're paying for this foundation, you are getting 0.41 ounces of product. For comparison purposes, that ABH foundation that I mentioned comes in 29 shades and with 0.32 ounces of product. However, the ABH Foundation Stick is meant for oily skin, so it is going to be a drier formula. And my favorite foundation stick, which I've shamefully never reviewed, the Bobbi Brown Skin Foundation Stick, retails for $46, comes in 30 different shades, and comes with 0.31 ounces of product. So in both cases, you are getting more product with the Sephora Foundation Stick. For reference, I purchased mine in the shade Oak, which is described as a light beige with neutral undertones. Okay, so now let's see how this thing works. Okay, so my face is moisturized and primed, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I personally like using brushes when I use foundation sticks. I just find that brushes work better at spreading it out and giving me the coverage that I need without having to pack on a whole bunch of foundation. So I'm going to demonstrate using this with my Makeup Forever 108 brush and also with my It Cosmetics for Ultra number 102 brush. So one side each, you know, you've seen YouTube videos before. There is a lot of redness going on in my face right now because Hurricane Irma was stressful, so my skin is obviously showing some signs of stress, which is great because this is supposed to be a medium to full coverage foundation, so this should be covering up the redness. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply. Here we go. So this is a really creamy foundation formula. You know, that glided onto my skin very easily. And as you can see, it's blending out pretty easily as well. And it looks like, you know, I picked a pretty good foundation match considering I picked this color out online. I really love this foundation brush because it's so wide that I really don't get any kind of streakiness. It's wide and it's dense and I get no streaks when I use it. So there you go. That is one layer of foundation on this side. This is what the other side looks like. As you can see, it does cover, but right now I have just a medium coverage. It's a little bit sheer, and interestingly, I'm getting a little bit of patchiness, which this is the first time I'm experiencing this with this foundation. This is not my first time trying this foundation, and I guess I have some dry spots, and this is clinging to it. Maybe I didn't moisturize enough, but even though it's creamy, it is not being very kind to these areas. And I do need a little bit of extra coverage because, as I mentioned, my skin has been stressed, so I have some redness to cover up. So I'm just gonna go right back in with the same brush and build this up. I had a big like red spot right here on my nose. It is totally covered. I think something bit me because there's not a pimple or anything there, but it's tender and it's swollen, but I don't know, maybe it was a bite. I don't know what bit me. That's rude though. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can see, like right around here, I have some dryness in my skin and it's already kind of clinging to that patchiness, which I am really surprised about because, and as you can see right here under my eye, do you see that kind of patchiness right there? I'm really surprised that that's happening. It had not happened before when I tested this foundation out previously, but so right there we've got some patchiness. Right here we've got some patchiness, and right here, well, that's just clinging to a pimple that's going away. All right, so here is half of my face covered with 2 layers. It does layer very well and very easily, but and it does provide coverage, as you can see. So let's try the other side with my fluffier, denser kind of brush. Here we go. Try to concentrate the majority of my coverage in the center of my face, which is where a lot of redness happens for me. So just FYI, this is the brush type that I have been applying this foundation with most regularly. I find that I can blend it out a lot faster and easier. But I do still love my Makeup Forever brush. That brush is fabulous. Alright, so now we have 1 layer on this side and 2 layers on this side. It's kind of sitting on top of my skin right here and just not looking that great. I have, again, another dry patch right here, which is not typical for my skin, but it's what I'm struggling with right now. Let's just add a little bit of extra coverage. Okay, sorry about that. So I had to blend this off camera real fast so that I could answer the front door. But now I have both sides have 2 layers on top. This does layer relatively easily, but with any kind of dry patches, this is not being very forgiving on my skin, and it is pretty much clinging to everything. Okay, so there you have it. This is what the foundation looks like on its own. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Okay guys, so here it is with the rest of my makeup on. I did spritz a little bit of a hydrating spray, like a mist, and it did help a little bit in kind of some of the drier areas, but not everywhere. I still have some patches where this just looks really dry, and it makes sense because this is supposed to be a demi matte finish. I totally forgotten that when I was applying it, so that's why I didn't mention it in the application footage. But I'm glad that I got to experience how this foundation performs when my skin is dry. I don't normally suffer from dry skin. I generally have combination skin with just a little bit of dryness here. Everything else is either normal, a little bit oily right here and here. So it was interesting to see how this performed differently than what I've been experiencing in the past few weeks when I've been trying this foundation out. It was a totally different experience. And I think it was valuable for me to see that because this foundation does claim that it's supposed to be good for all skin types, and I thought when I was first using it that the creaminess would mean that it would be, but the way that this is kind of looking right now and just the kind of dry patchiness that I'm seeing on my skin already, and this is freshly applied. So even though this is really creamy, the demi matte finish I don't think is going to do any favors for you if you have very dry skin. So I was gonna do a wear test for you guys today, but I'm not liking how this foundation looks already. So hopefully just knowing how it looks upon first application when my skin is dry is enough for you, and I can go ahead and tell you what my experience was like when I tested this foundation out previously. So as you saw in my application footage, this foundation does glide onto the skin easily, it blends easily, and it does build up easily. I never built it up to a full coverage foundation because I don't personally like full coverage foundation. My preference is for medium coverage, so I don't know whether or not this will build up that intensely, but my experience with being able to build it up is positive, so I think that it could be possible. I just don't know how it would look. When I was testing this out previously, I didn't experience this settling into fine lines. And it did generally wear pretty well throughout the day. I would set it with powder and wear it throughout the day, and I would still have foundation on. You know, it still looked good by the end of the day. However, what I did experience was that the foundation would sort of collect anywhere where I might have had a pimple. That was interesting that today I also had some breakouts and some redness going on, but this time my skin was dry and I saw that the foundation was collecting and not looking so great from the beginning. In the past, when I was using it, if I had a pimple and I covered it up with the foundation, it would look fine. I would set it with powder, it would look fine. By the end of the day, it was noticeable that I had tried to cover it with the foundation, so it didn't look so great as I wore it throughout the day. But the rest of my face, if my face was clear, still looked pretty good. Essentially, it works great, but it will show some wear. However, I did notice something while using this foundation that took it from being an okay, I can kind of work with this, to a this is definitely going back. I am going to be returning this foundation because one thing that I did notice was that anytime I would wear it, I would end up breaking out. And I tried it a couple days in a row and ended up getting some pimples, thinking, I don't know, maybe it's not the foundation. Then I would stop wearing it, switch back to a different foundation, my skin would look fine, and then I would go back to trying it and I would end up with breakouts again. So I think that this foundation, there's something in it, I don't know what it is, that just doesn't react well with my skin. So unfortunately, while I liked the consistency of the foundation, I liked how it blended and how it built up, and I absolutely love the price. Gosh, $20 is such a great price. Unfortunately, it's just not the foundation for me. Alright guys, so there you have it. That was my experience using the Sephora Make No Mistake Foundation Stick. If you've tried this foundation before and had a completely different experience or even the same experience, comment that down below and let us know, hey, maybe some of you out there have some tips to make this thing work better. Well, thanks so much for spending a little bit of your day with me today, and I hope I'll see you again soon in my next video. Bye! Hey guys, thanks for stopping by again. La 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 la, cannot talk. Maybe if I sing my intros. I will not do that to you. If you're a fan of as you probably guessed from the video title, thumbnail, or whatever search terms you use to land here, today we're going to be talking about the Sephora Make No Mistake. I don't know. Apparently I make lots of mistakes talking. I mean, God, this looks pretty on camera though. God, I wish it looked pretty in person. Okay guys, so there you have it. That was my experience using the Sephora I don't even know what I'm using. I'm discombobulated.